As a global phenomenon, WWE continues to push out content and accumulate talent at a record pace. As part of this growth, there are new and interesting angles and storylines along the way. That said, the company is also in a position to make changes or evolve their product from where it is to where it could be moving into 2019. While a number of things have taken place from a programming standpoint, one has to wonder what changes could be made moving forward, who and what could be affected, and when could we anticipate it happening. With 2018 drawing to a close, there are a few things that could be explored. If these changes were to happen, it would be at a rapid pace. Here are 10 things WWE should do before the year is over. One of the hottest angles that took place in WWE over the last decade happened a few years ago, and it actually involved a number of talent currently on the roster. Fans may recall the Nexus angle, where a group of men from the NXT roster engaged in a feud with the top talent. One of the men at the time was John Cena. It could be argued that something similar took place a few years later with the emergence of The Shield, their group attacks on a number of main roster superstars and their inclusion on the roster, but that was on a much smaller scale. It'd be quite interesting to see whether or not something similar could be done to end 2018, creating a hot angle moving into the new year. Whether it's the Undisputed Era crashing the ring, or other NXT talent that band together in search of their shot at the brass ring, there are different ways to do that. Fans will recall Velveteen Dream's tights that read "Call Me Up Vince" on the back. Could this be a sign of things to come? Along with the influx of talent that has come into the company, WWE has forged relationships with various companies in the UK and the United States. Promotions such as Evolve, Progress, and Revolution Pro Wrestling have established ties with the WWE over the last few years. What would be an incredible concept would be a one-night cross-promotional event with another major promotion. On top of that, WWE has been using content made available by TNA Impact Wrestling, so maybe it's even possible that both sides could come together to create this unique concept. The massive opportunity for simulcasting the event would create inroads for all companies that are groundbreaking. Maybe this idea will never see the light of day, but if it did take place before the end of the year, it would leave the door open for new opportunities to come up moving forward. He is glorious and the former US and NXT champion, but throughout his time on the main roster, particularly since the switch to Raw, Bobby Roode hasn't had a major storyline to sink his teeth into, something that would grow his character. What was a curious decision about Roode was to introduce him on the main roster as a face. A big part of that was because his theme is so catchy and infectious that fans sang along with it, which isn't supposed to happen for heels. Fans will recall that throughout his time in NXT, he was a heel. It simply made the most sense because his confidence was so over the top that it clearly came across as arrogance. By turning Roode heel, he could easily ascend to the top of the card and be seen as a valid challenger for any singles title. Bobby Lashley, who returned as the Dominator, is very well established in his career with years of experience behind him. Fans know that he captured several titles during his time with TNA Impact Wrestling. While there, he was at various times a face and a heel, doing a commendable job in both roles. Since he has returned to WWE, Lashley hasn't been booked in a manner that best uses his skill set. He did have a significant, though short, program with Roman Reigns, but his program with Sami Zayn was quite forgettable. There simply appears to be something missing, as Lashley's run as a face hasn't really allowed him a character with depth. It would be most beneficial for WWE to make a change in direction with him and have him become an intimidating heel. On Raw's episode on October 8th, it seems as WWE is about to turn Bobby Lashley heel. Do you want to see this happen? One of the most interesting characters on SmackDown is Daniel Bryan. He returned to the ring at WrestleMania and since then has been slowly integrated into the roster. His program with Big Cass left a lot to be desired, though that had little to do with Bryan and more of his opposition. His feud with The Miz has been a terrific opportunity for fans to see his passion, as he's continued to jockey for position against the A-lister during their feud. Bryan is the #1 contender for the WWE title after he beat The Miz at the Super Showdown. The universe wants to see Bryan win the WWE title to show that he is the underdog that can defy all the odds. The re-emergence of the Shield is something fans had long wanted to see. While there isn't the same gang mentality to the group, they still do stand by each other. It's clear that the vision and direction of the group has changed, with each member having developed their own distinct characteristics and traits that have made them all successful. Since Dean's recent return from injury, it's clear that keeping the Hounds of Justice together is important. One idea that could be explored is having each of the members hold a title, much like they did years ago, shortly after their debut. Taking into consideration the number of promos as well as social media posts that the group individually have done, which they talk about running this place, it would be most fitting to have them also hold titles. It would be another reason to believe in the Shield. A former NXT champion, Aleister Black, brings with him not just an admirable skill set, but also a character unlike anything currently on either main roster show. Not since The Undertaker has a character had the dark and cool edge about them that Black has. It was unfortunate that just prior to the recent NXT takeover in Brooklyn, Black suffered an injury, taking him out of the main event match. It may very well have put a hold on plans to either have him regain the title or complete his run with the brand and move up. While the timeline of his recovery from injury isn't discussed all that much, it's possible he is close to returning to action. He would be a solid addition to either Raw or SmackDown. While his presentation may appear a better fit for Raw, particularly his entrance, having him on SmackDown would also lend itself some great matchups as well. When Sanity was called up to SmackDown, there was one member that was noticeably missing. Nikki stayed with NXT because she was a credible challenger for the women's title. Her character is more unhinged than her fellow Sanity brethren, so her addition to either roster would be a welcome change, since she is so unlike anyone else on either brand. The simplest idea would be to reunite Cross with the remaining members of Sanity and have her as a part of SmackDown's women's division. From her initial debut with the faction, Cross's energy, personality, and character were unmistakable. It would also lead to potential matchups against the likes of Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, or even Carmella. This is something WWE may want to consider doing before 2018 draws to a close. How will the rest of the roster fare against the fiery Scotswoman? Since returning to WWE, Drew McIntyre has presented a personality that was missing prior to his departure a few years ago. Now showing a new sense of purpose and hunger, he has been aligned on the main roster with Dolph Ziggler. At well over 6 feet tall and nearly 260 pounds, McIntyre has the physical and character qualities that suggest he could easily walk alone and be successful. Although he is a current tag team champion on the Raw roster, McIntyre is well suited for a singles run. Whether it is the Intercontinental or Universal title, singles gold appears to be in his future. While fans may not see something like this fully materialize until 2019, laying some building blocks in the last few months of this year would be at the very least a start in the right direction. We may not see a singles title just yet, but that isn't to say it won't happen sooner rather than later. Starrcade was the signature event for WCW and was normally the event that closed out the year. Fans will recall the signature matches that were featured on the events over the years. For example, the Sting and Hollywood Hogan main event from '97 was the culmination of a rivalry and showcased how the Icon was going to take back the power from the NWO. The name Starrcade was brought back from an event last year. Unsurprisingly, since WWE has the trademark, that event held in North Carolina was a house show and not available to anyone but the live audience. While not all of today's WWE fans may know about the historical lineage tied to the event, this could become the opportunity to grow that knowledge. Having Starrcade become a pay-per-view once again before the end of the year could achieve this. And these are 10 things WWE should do before the year is over. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching Wrestling Hub, and I'll see you later with more videos.